What you're about to witness will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about MMA politics and high-level negotiations. We've just uncovered exclusive details about a fight negotiation so insane, so politically charged, that it's happening at the highest levels of government. And when I tell you where this potential super fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Reinier de Ridder is being discussed, you'll understand why Dana White has gone completely silent on social media for the past 48 hours. But that's just the beginning of this rabbit hole. The explosive confrontation between Chael Sonnen and Conor McGregor that happened behind closed doors has leaked, and the footage is so devastating that McGregor's legal team is desperately trying to scrub it from the internet. What Chael said about Conor's recent business dealings will make you question everything you thought you knew about the biggest star in MMA history. Before we expose these industry-shaking revelations that have promoters, fighters, and even government officials scrambling for damage control, I need to know, do you think MMA has become too political? Or is this exactly what the sport needs to reach the next level? Drop your thoughts in the comments because what we're about to reveal will change how you view the entire landscape of professional fighting. Let's start with the most bizarre story in MMA history. 3 days ago, during what should have been a routine meeting about international fight regulations, something unprecedented happened at a private government facility in Washington, D.C. Multiple sources have confirmed that discussions about a potential Khamzat Chimaev vs Reinier de Ridder super fight somehow made their way into high-level political conversations. Here's where this gets absolutely mind-blowing. The fight isn't being discussed for any normal venue. We're talking about a potential exhibition match that could take place on the grounds of the White House itself, as part of an international diplomatic initiative that nobody saw coming. The implications of this are so massive that several MMA journalists have been contacted by federal agencies asking them not to report on certain details. Can you guess which country's embassy first proposed this idea? Leave your answer in the comments because the political chess game happening behind the scenes involves nations you'd never expect to care about MMA. The genesis of this insane situation traces back to Chimaev's unique position as a fighter representing both Chechnya and Sweden, combined with de Ridder's status as a dominant champion from the Netherlands. What started as discussions about promoting international athletic cooperation has somehow evolved into talks about the most politically significant fight in combat sports history. According to our sources within the Athletic Commission Network, the preliminary discussions involve creating a new type of diplomatic combat sports exchange that would showcase athletes from different nations in a highly controlled, ceremonial environment. The White House venue isn't just symbolic, it's being positioned as the ultimate neutral ground for international competition. But here's what makes this story absolutely infuriating for every other fighter in the sport. While legitimate contenders are begging for opportunities and working multiple jobs to make ends meet, two fighters are potentially getting the most prestigious venue in American history because of political connections and international relations that have nothing to do with their fighting abilities. The financial numbers being discussed are equally ridiculous. We're talking about a total event budget that exceeds most UFC pay-per-view cards, funded not by traditional promotion companies, but by international cultural exchange programs and diplomatic initiatives. Each fighter would reportedly receive a base payment larger than most championship fight purses, plus additional compensation for participating in related diplomatic functions. What makes you angrier, fighters getting opportunities based on politics instead of merit, or the fact that government money might be paying for? Meanwhile, both Chimaev and de Ridder have remained suspiciously quiet about these developments. Chimaev's social media, usually filled with training videos and callouts, has been completely scrubbed of any political content over the past week. De Ridder's team has declined to comment on hypothetical scenarios, but hasn't denied the ongoing discussions. The logistical challenges of hosting a combat sports event at the White House are staggering. Secret Service protocols, international security clearances, media restrictions, and the symbolic weight of the location create complications that no other sporting event has ever faced. Yet somehow, these discussions are progressing to the point where preliminary venue assessments have allegedly been conducted. Before moving to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on MMA Discuss News. Now let's dive into the Chael Sonnen vs Conor McGregor situation that has the entire MMA world talking. What started as a casual conversation at a private event in Las Vegas has exploded into a full-scale war of words that exposes some seriously dark secrets about McGregor's business empire. The confrontation began when Sonnen allegedly questioned McGregor about recent financial irregularities in his whiskey business and cryptocurrency investments. According to witnesses, what should have been a friendly exchange between two of the sport's biggest personalities quickly turned into a heated argument about business practices, tax obligations, and alleged connections to questionable financial entities. Here's where this gets really interesting. Sonnen, known for his research skills and attention to detail, apparently came to this conversation prepared with specific documents and financial records that caught McGregor completely off guard. The Irishman's reaction was reportedly so aggressive that security had to intervene to prevent a physical altercation. But the most explosive part wasn't the initial confrontation, it was what happened afterward. McGregor allegedly made several statements about his business operations and future plans that, if true, could have serious legal and financial implications. Sonnen, being the calculated individual he is, was apparently recording the entire interaction on his phone. Quick trivia question. How many times has Chael Sonnen been involved in major controversies with current or former UFC champions? Drop your guess below. The leaked audio from this confrontation is absolutely devastating for McGregor's public image. In the recording, he allegedly admits to several business practices that his legal team has spent years denying. More importantly, he makes statements about his relationship with the UFC and Dana White that completely contradict his public persona as an independent businessman. Sonnen's response to McGregor's threats was classic Chael: calm, calculated, and absolutely brutal. He reportedly told McGregor that his business empire is built on a foundation of smoke and mirrors, and that the financial house of cards would eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. The most damaging part of Sonnen's counterattack was his detailed breakdown of McGregor's actual net worth versus his public claims. According to the leaked conversation, Chael presented evidence that McGregor's reported wealth is vastly inflated, with most of his assets tied up in illiquid investments and business ventures that are hemorrhaging money. McGregor's response was predictably explosive and, frankly, embarrassing. Witnesses describe him becoming increasingly agitated as Sonnen methodically dismantled his business claims with actual facts and figures. The Irishman allegedly resorted to personal attacks and wild threats that only served to make Sonnen's points more convincing. What's most infuriating about this situation is how it exposes the complete disconnect between McGregor's public image and reality. While fans continue to view him as a successful businessman and fighting icon, the evidence suggests that his financial situation is far more precarious than anyone realized. The implications for the UFC are equally significant. If Sonnen's claims about McGregor's relationship with the organization are accurate, it means that several high-profile business deals and fight negotiations were based on fundamentally false premises. Dana White's continued promotion of McGregor as the sport's biggest star becomes much more complicated when the star's actual value is called into question. Here's what really bothers me about both of these stories. They represent everything that's wrong with how MMA has evolved from a sport into an entertainment and political circus. Real fighters with legitimate skills and compelling stories get ignored while political connections and manufactured drama drive the biggest opportunities. What aspect of modern MMA frustrates you most? The political interference or the fake business personas? Let me know in the comments. The Chimivda-Ritter White House situation shows how the sport has become a tool for international relations rather than a meritocracy based on fighting ability. Meanwhile, the McGregor-Sonnen confrontation reveals how much of the sport's biggest storylines are built on lies and financial manipulation rather than legitimate athletic competition. Both stories expose the same fundamental problem: MMA has become too big and too profitable for the actual sport to matter as much as the political and financial games happening behind the scenes. Fighters are no longer evaluated primarily on their skills, but on their usefulness to larger agendas that have nothing to do with fighting. The silence from other fighters, promoters, and media outlets on these issues is deafening. Everyone knows that the sport has become corrupted by outside influences, but nobody wants to risk their own opportunities by speaking out against the system that feeds them. The Chimaev situation is particularly galling because it represents the complete abandonment of competitive integrity in favor of political theater. If this White House fight actually happens, it will set a precedent that fighting ability matters less than diplomatic utility. Future title shots and major opportunities will be determined not by rankings or performance, but by which fighters can serve political purposes. Similarly, the McGregor situation shows how the UFC and its media partners have become complicit in promoting false narratives that serve their business interests rather than informing fans about reality. How many other fighters are living lies that the organization actively helps maintain because it's profitable? The most frustrating part is that there are dozens of legitimate contenders and compelling storylines being ignored while these circus acts dominate the headlines. Real fighters grinding for opportunities get pushed aside so that political pawns and fake businessmen can continue their elaborate performances. What needs to change most in MMA? The political interference, the financial deception, or the media's willingness to promote fake stories? Your comments will help determine what topics we cover next. The broader implications of these developments should terrify anyone who cares about MMA as a legitimate sport. We're witnessing the transformation of professional fighting into a branch of international relations and financial theater, where the actual competition becomes secondary to the political and business agendas being served. If the White House fight happens, it will officially mark the end of MMA as a merit-based sport and the beginning of its new era as a tool for diplomacy and political posturing. Every future matchmaking decision will be viewed through the lens of what political or business purpose it serves rather than what makes sense competitively. The McGregor situation, meanwhile, demonstrates how the sport's biggest stars can maintain their status through pure fiction, as long as that fiction serves the promotional interests of powerful organizations. Truth becomes irrelevant when lies are more profitable and politically useful. As fans, we need to decide whether we're going to accept this transformation or demand that MMA return to its roots as a competition between the world's best fighters. The choices we make as consumers of this content will determine whether the sport survives this corruption or completely loses its identity. The time for passive consumption is over. Every view, every purchase, every social media interaction sends a message about what kind of MMA we want to support. Do we reward political theater and financial deception, or do we demand authentic competition and honest business practices? These stories represent a crossroads for the entire sport. The decisions made by promoters, fighters, and fans over the next few months will determine whether MMA becomes a legitimate global sport or just another form of politically motivated entertainment designed to serve agendas that have nothing to do with fighting. What we're witnessing isn't just the evolution of MMA, it's the potential death of everything that made the sport special in the first place. The question is whether we'll fight to preserve what matters or passively watch it disappear. That's all for today's explosive episode of MMA Discuss News. These stories are developing rapidly, and we'll continue following every twist and turn as they unfold. If these revelations shocked you as much as they did us, smash that like button, subscribe for daily MMA updates, and ring the notification bell so you never miss breaking news. Share this video with fellow MMA fans who need to know the truth about what's really happening behind the scenes. What story surprised you more, the White House fight negotiations or the McGregor-Sonnen confrontation? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this crucial conversation going. Until next time, keep questioning everything you hear about this sport we love.